Brought to you by Ayoko, Africa's leading integrated technology services company. It's time for Tech Talk. Now, according to Standard Bank data, disposable incomes across earnings brackets are being devoured by subscriptions for digital services. High-income earners spend over R1,000 on online entertainment and streaming. Middle-income earners part with around R482 on this, while the average low-income household spends R336 on subscriptions. Business Day's Mudiwa Gavaza joins us with more detail on how the shift towards recurring revenue driven by subscription services has led to this phenomenon. Mudiwa, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. So I was doing some recon of my own, right? And I even shocked myself when I realized how many active subscriptions I have. Are you surprised by these figures, considering how easy it is to, just pick up your card and add your details and boom, you're in?
Good afternoon, Tarling. I'm actually not surprised at all. I've also done a similar exercise for myself and my household, and it's actually quite shocking when you sit down and you actually look at how much these subscriptions are actually eating into our disposable incomes each month. And I think, of course, the biggest piece is the fact that they all seem like such small amounts, but when you add them together, they actually end up being quite material.
And looking at those subscription services, Mudiwa, what are people spending their money on?
Well, according to the data that Standard Bank was able to give to us, they actually said that the biggest piece is entertainment. That's the biggest things that people are subscribing for, as well as, so that's your online entertainment, that's your streaming services for both video, audio, as well as some of the gaming offerings that are out there. They also point to other segments such as health and fitness that are out there, but the biggest chunk is the entertainment factor. So think your Netflixes, your Showmax, your Spotify, and people actually sometimes don't realize just how many of these services they have that they're subscribed to.
I can confirm that I'm subscribed to at least 3 streaming services at the moment. What else I've been finding interesting with these subscription models is the pricing, right? We are seeing a pricing model that it really applies to everybody. You look at Showmax as an example, where they have something at the lower end for around R40 for just viewing on your mobile, to something on the higher end to around 450. That pretty much includes everything, and I guess more than 2 people can watch at the same time. What have you made of the pricing models and how these streaming services have gone about trying to cater for everyone?
Well, of course, all of this has to do with the different income groups that exist out there, to the point that you're making around the pricing strategies. So, for example, when you look at the data from Standard Bank, they actually show that your subscription bills, they do vary. But, depending on income, on the high income levels, they're showing that individuals spend well over R1,000 a month. And then on average, your low income households are spending around R336 per month on subscriptions, whereas your middle income earners are spending around R482 a month on average. So you can see that already the market has been segmented, and the strategies from the streaming providers specifically are tiered across this. It's nothing new if you really think about it from an entertainment point of view, because the oldest example that people will know and appreciate in South Africa is DSTV, right? For a long time now, because DSTV is, a 3-4 decades old platform now, and they have offerings from as little as I believe the lowest package on DSTV is 29 or 30 Rand, all the way up to DSTV Premium, which is over 900 Rand. So that segmenting of the market is quite serious. I think DSTV probably is one of the players that has the most rungs when it comes to that segmenting, because you have something at almost every rank, whereas a lot of the other streaming providers tend to have maybe 3 or 4 packages, depending on high income, middle income, and then low income strategies.
The data also speaks of a few other industries that are adopting this revenue model, the subscription revenue model, including health and fitness, as well as software and digital services subscriptions. Talk to me about that and what we're seeing there in terms of growth. And also, please just maybe take us through some examples of the software and digital services subscriptions.
This is actually a very interesting aspect, because myself and my friends sometimes joke about the fact that the modern economy feels like a never-ending subscription. Everything is turned into a subscription of some sort. The subscription for where you live is either called a bond or rent. The subscription for where children go to school or education is called school fees, and the like. So we've been seeing a lot of businesses implementing this. In software, once upon a time, I'll use the example of Microsoft Office. Once upon a time, you could pay a fixed amount of money, and you buy your package, you have Microsoft Office, it gives you access to PowerPoint, Excel, and Word, and you're done. But now that package is in the minority. A lot of people are subscribing for Microsoft 360. That's what's happening on the enterprise side as well as the consumer side. So we've seen a lot of software companies coming up with that model as well. In the vehicle space, interestingly, we've also seen an increase in subscription models for vehicles even. There are a couple of technology platforms such as Planet 42 as well as Flex Club that is now partnered with Avis, and they're offering subscriptions on cars. That is basically the middle ground between a rental and a lease for a vehicle. You subscribe, you pay a certain amount of money every month, and you have access to a car or a vehicle. So you can see all of these different models. I'll also just refer to some data from Visa and Discovery Bank that came out recently, where they were also noting that on the software side, the other element that people are now subscribing for more and more is AI services. So think your chat GPTs, think your Geminis, and your Microsoft Copilot, that type of thing. That's another area in the digital realm where people are subscribing more and more.
I actually have a friend that's canceling his Amazon Prime and Showmax subscription just so he can have enough money to subscribe to ChatGPT. So there is, some growth coming through on the AI side. You mentioned how the modern day economy is a never-ending subscription, and I guess that's where subscription fatigue comes in, right?
No, and it certainly does. However, I think it's the convenience more than anything else that lends itself to why so many consumers find themselves there. I remember 2 days ago, I was at a presentation for Altron's full year results, and they have a huge drive and focus right now around annuity revenue. And annuity revenue is basically the same concept that we're talking about. Companies are trying to lock down their clients into long-term contracts where they know that for a certain amount of time they can rely predictably that this customer is going to be paying X amount every single month. And for a company like Altron, that's around 63% of all their revenues is this recurring type of revenue. So that's the reason why so many companies are coming from there. And subscription fatigue is something that is being felt for both consumers and enterprise customers, where basically you're sitting there and you're saying, I've got too many subscriptions. However, the convenience
Yeah.
of having those subscriptions, those seemingly small amounts. That's the first thing that keeps people locked in. But also on the other side is that effort from enterprises to almost lock customers in to a subscription where they don't really give an option to buy something outright. Imagine how nice it would be to just say, okay, fine, guys, instead of me buying, because once upon a time, you could buy an album on iTunes for, I believe an album was around 100
99
rand or
rand,
150
99
rand.
rand, yeah.
Yes, 99 rand for an album. But now for the about the same amount, you have access to the whole Apple Music library. So as much as people will want to buy things outright, it feels more convenient to subscribe.
So do you think then subscription fatigue is nothing to worry about at the moment, considering how convenient these services make our lives?
I think it is an issue, and I say it is an issue because what it ends up doing, especially now, is that people are sort of locking themselves into certain ecosystems. So someone will say to themselves, okay, instead of going and subscribing for on the entertainment side, to Amazon, to Disney, to Showmax, to Netflix, let me just say, okay, fine, I'm just gonna do Showmax, and then maybe I'll do Netflix, and that's it.
Yeah.
So now your Disney, your Prime, and HBO, any other service is now competing against the mindset of a person who's like, I don't want to subscribe for anything else. So now the real competition is about, how do you actually make yourself as a service that top one for a person to say, this is the one I'm going to subscribe for. In music, it's the same thing, right? Do I subscribe for Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, any one of these services? Most people just lock themselves into one, and that's it. So it's that aspect where a person, how do you make yourself as a business the top one that someone subscribes for?
All right, Mudiwa, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing those insights. So that was Business Days, Mudiwa Gavaza, with this week's edition of Tech Talk. Brought to you by Ayoko, Africa's leading integrated technology services company.